Anarchism is a political philosophy that advocates for the abolition of the state, which it views as inherently oppressive, and seeks to establish a society based on voluntary cooperation and the absence of hierarchical authority. Historically, anarchism has been aligned with left-wing ideologies, emphasizing the collective well-being, communal ownership of resources, and the dismantling of all forms of coercive power structures, including capitalism, the state, and organized religion. The roots of anarchism can be traced back to the Enlightenment and revolutionary movements of the 19th century, but it gained significant traction during the late 19th and early 20th centuries, with figures like Mikhail Bakunin, Peter Kropotkin, and Emma Goldman. These thinkers and activists were involved in various social movements and uprisings, advocating for a radical restructuring of society based on principles of mutual aid, solidarity, and freedom from authoritarian structures. Mikhail Bakunin and Peter Kropotkin are among the most influential figures in the development of anarchism. Bakunin's emphasis on direct action and his opposition to state socialism set the stage for what would become known as anarchism. Kropotkin further developed anarchist theory by introducing the concept of mutual aid, arguing that cooperation, not competition, was the driving force of evolution and could serve as a basis for organizing society. Emma Goldman, another key figure, promoted anarchism in the United States and tied it to various social issues, including workers' rights, women's emancipation, and sexual freedom. Anarchism is grounded in the belief that individuals can and should govern themselves, organizing society without top-down authority. Anarchists advocate for the dismantling of all hierarchical structures, promoting a society based on voluntary association and mutual aid. Key to anarchist ideology is the belief in direct action as a means of enacting social change, which often puts anarchists at odds with formal political processes that they view as inherently corrupt or coercive. Anarchism has historically influenced a range of global movements aimed at social and political reform, from labor movements in the early 20th century to contemporary anti-globalization and anti-capitalist movements. Anarchist principles are often seen in community cooperatives, collective projects, and other forms of organization that prioritize horizontal structures and shared decision-making processes. While anarchism is traditionally associated with left-wing politics, advocating for a stateless society where resources are held in common, there has been a recent and controversial development in the form of anarcho-capitalism. Mainly prevalent in American contexts, anarcho-capitalism combines radical right-wing libertarianism with anarchist rhetoric to advocate for the elimination of the state, but the retention of private property and free markets. This variant is generally rejected by traditional anarchists who view capitalism as inherently exploitative and antithetical to anarchist principles of equality and mutual aid. Anarchism is often criticized for its perceived idealism and the practical challenges of implementing a stateless society. Critics argue that without some form of state governance, society would descend into disorder. In response, anarchists point to historical and contemporary examples of successful anarchist or anarchistic communities, emphasizing that structured, cooperative behavior is possible without hierarchical control. They also critique the effectiveness and ethical legitimacy of state power, highlighting instances of state corruption and violence to argue that state-based systems inherently produce more harm than good. Beyond political philosophy and political science, anarchism has influenced fields like education, where it inspires approaches that emphasize learner autonomy and critical pedagogy. In economics, it promotes alternatives to capitalist models, such as cooperatives and communal sharing. In art and literature, it fosters anti-authoritarian and non-conformist expressions. Anarchism remains a vital and influential philosophy in radical politics, particularly visible in grassroots movements and anarchist collectives that aim to address social inequality, environmental issues, and anti-globalization. Its principles continue to inspire new generations of activists who are skeptical of traditional political systems and seek more egalitarian ways of organizing society. The legacy of anarchism is its enduring critique of authority and its vision of a society based on voluntary cooperation and mutual respect. While practical implementations have been rare and often short-lived, the ideological influence of anarchism persists in movements seeking to challenge and dismantle oppressive power structures around the world. In summary, anarchism advocates for a stateless society organized around voluntary cooperation and the abolition of authoritarian institutions. Historically rooted in left-wing ideologies, it presents a radical critique of both state power and capitalism, envisioning a world where individuals freely associate without hierarchical control. Despite its challenges, anarchism continues to influence global movements striving for a more equitable and decentralized mode of social organization.